Today we are talking about checking the low kick correctly. But first thing, guys, no making fun of my coif up here. I know I have a lot of hair happening. It's time for a haircut. I just got off from a bike ride and poof, it's just like that. So bear with me on this, because more importantly than my hair, we are talking about how to correctly check the low kick. You might think, oh, Gabriel, my very first day in the gym, my instructor showed me how to do that. I know all the details. Guess what? You don't. And I'm gonna break them all down today for you so you're doing this check correctly and as effectively as possible. Defense, guys, I talk about it time and time again on the channel. It is in fact going to be my first online course that is coming in 2024. And today will hopefully give you a bit of a sneak peek about how much information you may be missing in terms of defense because you go, we're checking a low kick. How detailed could that be? How do I not already know how to do every element? Well, hopefully after this, you'll go, whoa, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to know. And this is just one single technique. And there are so many other blocks that I need to know how to do to this capacity. So this online course may be perfect for you. So we are looking at how to correctly check the low kick. Like I said, you probably do this all the time. You might not think about the details. So let's break this down step by step. First, starting with what the upper body is doing. You might not think about that, but the upper body, what is it doing? The big mistake that a lot of people make is they actually do something with their upper body or their hands in particular, which is a big error. My hands are up, the check comes, and my hands don't need to do anything. The most common error that I see beginners make is they go to check and their hands drop at the same time. And that means if somebody sees that, they end up coming low, they come low, then they fake and come high, and your hands are here, you're gonna take that head kick. So your hands stay on each side of the head, and you just come up to there with no hands doing anything. The upper body definitely needs to lock. It needs to tighten. If you leave your torso relaxed, you're just loose, and they hit you here, there's gonna be a chance that you get shifted a little bit. Your body just gets thrown out of position. So I like to flex my stomach as I take impact to make sure that everything is strong and stable. Now, most importantly, we're moving down to the lower body. And on the lower body, we have to look at many different elements. Let's look at the very first thing. When I lift my leg, what should my leg actually be doing? Should it hang directly down? Should there be a slight angle? Blah, blah, blah. Very simply, we want to just lift our leg up and let our foot hang directly below the knee. We don't need to worry about any small little tweaks to the side or extending our leg out or sucking it in. I like to just come up and let my foot just hang naturally directly below the knee. Now next, we need to look at what are our toes doing? Because a lot of people will ask me, Gabriel, some people tell me toes down. Some people say toes up. And this is kind of like that argument, I suppose. Do you have your thumb up or down when you throw the hook? There are arguments for both, but I prefer to elevate my toes. Why do I do this? When I flex down, very often the argument is, look at, you cover more distance. So if you go like this and the person happens to slide their kick under and attack my lower leg on the standing foot, if I did this, they couldn't get by. But from here, I feel like I really expose the leg a little bit more and it's not as stable. Whereas when I lift, it's squeezed. My leg is locked and taking impact seems that much safer. When you're going shin to shin or their foot coming into your shin, you want to have the ability to check the low kick and have them get hurt more than you. That's why we check it, right? If they could kick and kick and kick, and eventually I kind of go, oh, my shin's hurting, they're winning. But what should happen is somebody throws a low kick, you check it, and they go, oh, that hurt. That's what we're looking to accomplish. In my experience, pointing your toes down does not accomplish that. Flexing them up does. So this is where I always go. It's the position that I like to be in, and it is what I suggest you end up doing. And before we move on to our next point, let's take a moment to give a shout out to the sponsor of this episode who have outfitted me entirely today. We're talking about X Marshall. Again, these guys have some fantastic apparel, street apparel training gear for jiu-jitsu or for striking sports, head over. I have a link in the description below, and you can use my promo code Gabriel Varga to save 10% and pick up jazzy apparel just like this. Next thing we need to look at is which angle do we take with the leg? Where do we exactly place it? We've talked about the heel hanging directly below the knee. We've talked about now what does the foot do, but where exactly are you going to turn your leg? Well, let's say somebody throws the low kick and you come straight up the middle, almost like you're getting ready to throw your front kick. All this accomplishes now is they're going to come and they're going to blast the outside of the calf and your leg is going to get shifted. So what we need to do is we need to focus primarily on the fact that the toes are going to turn out. You can check like this with your leg pretty much up the middle, but if the toes turn out, at least now the shin is taking the block as opposed to the calf. But still, I prefer not to go here. I also don't prefer to go here because it takes a little bit longer, I feel like, and it's very wide, so the person might be able to attack the inside of your standing leg. So I like just about here. Look at that difference. Straight up the middle, slightly off to the side, and I turn my toes out. And once I've accomplished this, from here, it's very hard for them to get to this position, but it's very hard for them to strike my calf. So small adjustment out to the side, toes flexed up, shin slightly turned outwards along with the toes, and you accomplish a solid check where they hit you, boom, and you just stand there. And you don't get knocked backwards, you don't get shifted, you just boom, and you put right back down so you can hopefully move in to your counter shots. Next, let's talk about how high you should be lifting this leg, because obviously too high is no good, but too low means that you're just going to still get chopped. So in my personal experience, I don't like coming all the way up to hip level. I find that's a little high and it exposes the standing leg. I drop slightly. But again, I don't want to come to the point where I'm getting down here where they can easily kick my thigh. So I'm lifting up to probably about upper thigh level with the knee, with that slight turnout, and in my experience, that is the ideal position to block the kick, but not expose this standing leg. Now, there may be some questions on what do I do with this standing foot, the foot that is placed against the ground. Should I be doing anything fancy with that? Should I be elevating the same way I do when I round kick? My answer there is no. Keep that foot flat. Boom. It's much easier to stand your ground when you're flat-footed. You have more surface area connected to the floor as opposed to the elevation where you're going to feel, whoa, 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 it's hard to hold here. That means when you get hit, you're probably going to get shifted and off balance. So that standing leg is going to stay completely flat to the floor. Boom. And I don't need to worry about going and dropping my weight or anything. I'm not dropping and trying to really center my weight downwards to make myself more stable. You're already stable here. And you can take the impact and not get shifted. So slight bend because you already have a slight bend in your knees. You're not walking like this. You have a slight bend in your knees, and whatever position you're at, you just maintain it. So your head level does not switch. I don't come up, I don't come down, I just hold my ground with all the other details I already gave you. Now, there are many more questions you may have on checking a low kick because we're only dealing right now with what happens when they come with that round kick. What happens if they go inside low or they come round to the back leg? There's much more to chat about, but for today's episode, we're only going to deal with the outside one. And in the future, when I get to my course, I will cover all the details. But these videos today, short, concise, giving you information on the most common kick, which is going to come your way. Make sure when you step back down from your check, you step right to where you started. You start here. You finish there unless you are trying to close distance and land with your hands, in which case you could go check, step, combo up. My favorite counter to the low kick check is just to get the check off and fall right to the cross. It's an easy one to do, and like I said, you can step forward or not, depending on do I need to close distance or are they within range, and I just go right back down where I started. So let's call it there, guys. Thank you for joining me today. Train hard, and I will see you back here soon for another video.